Hello, Kidney Warriors! James here from Dadvice TV, your online kidney health coach. And this is Dadvice TV Live. Now, tonight, we are going to be talking about exercise, which is very, very important for those of us with kidney disease. And if you're new, if this is your first time here, congratulations. You found a great place to learn all about kidney disease and things that you can do to help improve your health and improve your quality of life. So make sure and hop on over to the YouTube channel and subscribe to Dadvice TV. And if you are new, my name's James. I'm a kidney warrior because I'm kicking kidney disease to the curb. I was diagnosed stage 5, but I've been focusing on my health, exercising. I was just talking with our co-host right before the show about how when we're done, I'm going to go and exercise some more. I accidentally broke my treadmill. So I got to go outside to get my steps in. But I've been getting better. I went from stage 5 to stage 3, feeling great. No symptoms. Woohoo! So excited. Now tonight, it is Tuesday. So who do we have here? We're going to have renal dietitian Jen Hernandez from PlantPoweredKidneys.com. Let's go ahead and let's bring her on. Hey there, Jen. How you doing?
Hey James, hey everybody. I'm doing so good and glad to be back this week to chat about exercise. This is such a great topic, and I know you guys are all going to be getting a lot of information out of this and motivation to get your own exercise routine in gear. I know it's a really big question for a lot of people, so we're going to cover a lot about exercise tonight. But if you have never heard of me or met me or seen me before, my name is Jen Hernandez. I am the founder and renal dietitian behind Plant Powered Kidneys. And Plant Powered Kidneys is a virtual private practice here in the United States. We help people in all stages of CKD. I've worked with people from early stage 1 through dialysis, through transplant and beyond. And we help formulate the best customized renal diet for each person, each client that we work with. And some of you may have caught Shelby, who was on last week on Friday. She is another dietitian that works here at Plant Powered Kidneys and sees clients as well. So we can see people in the US. For those that are outside of the US, we're not able to work privately or one-on-one, but we do have our Plant Powered Kidneys 6-week course, which I will be announcing in just a few short weeks that we are reopening for enrollment and rerunning again 6 weeks of nutrition fundamentals and live Q&As. Every week for the 6 weeks that we run it, I do a live hour Q&A session to go through each of the topics that we have every week. And once you're a student in Plant Powered Kidneys, you are a student for life. You get lifetime access to all of the updates, all of the changes. I have it on my calendar next week to redo tons, almost all of the video content of the course. So for the students that are already in, it's going to be basically like a brand new course for you. But we'll have a short enrollment time open in a few weeks. So you can go to our website at plantpoweredkidneys.com and go under our services to see the course. Get on the wait list so that you get an email notification as soon as the doors open, because the time will be short for enrollment. So that's plantpoweredkidneys.com, and you can check out more information about working with us or joining our course here in a couple weeks.
Awesome. And what are you doing? Here, let me bring myself back. Bring me on
Oh,
here.
yeah.
What are you doing tonight after our hour conversation about exercise? You've got something special.
Yeah, thank you for reminding me because, of course, it was going to slip my mind. I am going to be going on Instagram to do an Instagram
Oh,
Live with 3 other dietitians.
I'm covering you up. Hold on. We tried to
Hey,
get this lined up earlier. There we go. Wrong
hey,
side.
my picture's still there. It still works. But yeah, so I'm going to be joining these 3 other amazing renal dietitians, and we're going to be talking about eating out and how to do it in a healthy way for your kidneys. So if you're on Instagram, you can jump over, find us at plant.powered.kidneys, and follow us on Instagram, and you can see that we'll be going live in about an hour and a half, about 90 minutes from right now. We will be live, and we usually do our lives for about an hour or so to get all the questions that pop up, get those answered. So be sure to find us, and hopefully we'll see you there. We're doing these lives about once every month.
And this is great because you have 4 different dietitians, everybody. And, at least the ones that I've worked with, that Jen works with, you're going to pretty much get the same overall advice, but each one has different experience and different tips. So you get to hear all sorts of cool things and different ideas and suggestions. So I definitely encourage everyone to check it out right after we're done with this. So you have a 30-minute breather when we're done.
Yes. And I'm really glad I made some tofu curry. So I've got my meal all good to go. It's already ready. I can inhale it. And then I'll be good to jump on Instagram. So but I'm very excited. I love chatting with these ladies. I mean, like you said, they have their own perspectives and they have their own experience. And it's just so fantastic. I love connecting with dietitians. So it's really, really fun.
Yep. Awesome. Hey, and thank you, Nathan. He just sent a $5 super chat. Didn't post a question, just donated $5 to help keep Dadvice TV going and more stuff coming.
That's awesome.
Appreciate
Thank you,
that.
Nathan.
If you have a question, Nathan, make sure and post it down below and we'll make sure and get to it. So let's jump right on into exercise. And for everyone who's following along, Jen always creates a blog about the topic we're going to discuss, and we're going to be going through that on plantpoweredkidneys.com. Right here is the blog that we're going to be following along. So if you're, feverishly taking notes, don't worry. You can go to the blog, get all the information. There's even some graphics and all sorts of other cool stuff to help you. Or if you're in a hurry, the blog is a great way to kind of just scan through it and get just the parts that you need for now, and then you can watch our whole conversation later when you have some free time. So let's jump right on into exercise for your kidneys. Now, is exercise helpful if you have kidney disease? Do I need to exercise?
Well, long answer short, yes. Exercise is really helpful when it comes to keeping your kidneys healthy, and really it's helpful in addressing a lot of other factors when we talk about kidney disease, because as we know, we've talked about it before, kidney disease for one, it doesn't fit everybody the same way. It's very different in everybody's situation. And two, it usually comes along with other health issues. Some people might have high blood pressure. Some people might have diabetes or prediabetes. Some people might have heart failure or heart conditions, cardiovascular issues, or autoimmune. So there's tons of different factors, but exercise has been shown in so many ways to be really, really helpful with our overall health. And that's why we hear a ton about exercise all the time. We hear it from the CDC, we hear it from different health company or health bodies like the American Heart Association, the American Dietetic Association, the American Diabetes Association, the National Kidney Foundation. All of these big groups are talking about how important it is to exercise. And the research is there to show that exercise can directly help with some of the situations that, again, are connected to kidney function in general. One of the really big things when it comes to a benefit of exercise is helping with our mental health and helping to prevent things like depression and anxiety, which are really, really common in the kidney community. And it's understandable. CKD is a really heavy diagnosis and it's a chronic condition, and depression is very, very common throughout the different stages of CKD. So it definitely can be helpful in a myriad of ways when it comes to taking care of your kidney health.
Yeah. Now, does it directly improve kidney function?
So in studies, exercise by itself has not been conclusively shown to help with kidney function. But when they look at it as a factor tied in with a healthy lifestyle, a healthy diet, then they see that exercise can have an impact and kind of be a part to that puzzle, that big picture that we're looking at. So when they looked just at exercise, it's not really going to do too much. But again, if you're adding it in as a fraction, if you're adding it in as a component of a healthy lifestyle, it has been shown to help. So, and that I think makes sense because
Hmm.
even in the general population, people talk about, let's say, losing weight, which can be a benefit to exercising or having changes in your body composition. Many times, it's not necessarily just exercise alone, just like it's not always just diet alone. Many cases are diet and exercise. It's this combination. So, in short, exercise alone is not going to be that fix all or that cure for kidney health, but it is a very important and it has been shown to be helpful when combined with healthy diet and lifestyle.
Yeah, and my doctors were very um, firm with me that I needed to exercise for my heart, for my blood pressure, to help me manage my emotions and the mental state of all this. Walking is like therapy for me. It's great to
Yeah.
get the steps in. My waist gets a little bit smaller when I make sure and I get all my steps in. And now the weather's getting nicer. I'm definitely going to be walking a whole lot more. Lose some
Mhm.
of this COVID weight that I put on. I feel like COVID's been a baby for me, and I've gained a whole baby in me. But my doctors have always been focused on making exercise and stress management part of my treatment of my kidney disease, and it helped me focus on being healthy. Which, for
Mhm.
those that are new out there, that's the secret for me. It was just living and being healthy. There's no magic pill or anything like that. It's all these healthy things you do together that can help you improve your quality of life. And exercise played a very important and critical role for me.
Yeah, and some of the things too, when you talked about with your doctors encouraging exercise and walking, I mean, that's a really, really great type of movement and exercise that you can do. I mean, the exercise has this direct impact of reducing stress and
Mhm.
inflammation and inflammatory markers and cholesterol, which cholesterol can be connected with stress and inflammation, but with walking, that directly does improve. We see people who make healthy lifestyle changes with walking and their cholesterol levels improve or their blood sugars are improve. I've had a lot of people who have really good controlled type 2 diabetes when they're doing more walking, more exercising, more weightlifting, all kinds of things, whatever really they find and they prefer. That's the bottom line of it is finding something like that that you really feel good with, and it can be really, really helpful.
Yep. Now, can exercise hurt my kidneys?
So, yes, exercising can hurt your kidneys, and this is where you really want to be careful. Um, I'll preface it by saying that it's usually in extreme cases and extreme situations. So, weightlifting, for example, because I know a lot of
Mhm.
people are wondering about weightlifting. I've already seen some questions popping up about that. Weightlifting can be a safe thing to do for different stages of CKD. And it can be really beneficial because it helps preserve your muscle function, it helps decrease inflammation, it helps keep you strong and keep you able to do some of your day to day activities. It doesn't have to be really, really high weight. The damage that can occur from exercising is when somebody goes into, let's say, a bodybuilding competition
Mhm.
and they are lifting weights like it's literally their job, and
Yeah.
they're doing it hours and hours every day, and they're doing significantly heavy weights because as you exercise, you can get these like micro tears in your muscles, and that's where the creatine or creatinine. I always get these
Yeah.
when I start talking about exercise. The
Well,
creatine and creatinine,
creatine is sometimes in some of the supplements weightlifters take,
exactly,
which then
exactly.
increases creatinine in your
Yes,
bloodstream, artificially lowering your GFR.
yes. So in these cases, you want to be really careful with things like that because this can be not recommended. And I tell this for all of my clients, I tell this for everybody. First of all, whatever type of exercise regimen you really want to do, make sure you get medically cleared by your doctor. You want your doctor to be on board. And just like James, just like you had your doctor saying, yes, I want you to exercise, that's what I want you all to be checking with your doctors about, and to get that big green light so that they know and can support you as you are making this change. If you don't tell them, if you don't at least check in with them, then you might have a funky lab and the doctor's going to say, what happened? What did you do? You know, a lot of those like accusatory questions of like, what now kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And you don't want that. You want to have that go ahead to begin with so that the doctor is going to be knowing what to look for and can help guide you through the safe amount. So if you exercise to an extreme and you're doing a lot of heavy weightlifting, a lot long hours, really, really heavy weights to the point where it may not be safe, there are certain situations where you can have further kidney damage. There's one term called rhabdomyolysis that basically means like the severe breakdown of your muscles that can lead to acute kidney injury. And basically, AKI, this is something that is a temporary kidney damage that usually can repair itself, but may require dialysis for some time. So that's where, you know, some people might need dialysis for a short amount of time and then they come off of it because maybe they had AKI and their kidney was able to be repaired. So these are not very commonly seen, but they do happen. So you want to do whatever kind of exercise program you're looking at doing. Don't jump in too heavy, too fast. Make sure you go slow and steady. When we talk about weightlifting, your body is weight. So doing things like body weight squats, push-ups, sit-ups, all kinds of things just with your own physical body, that's still weightlifting and that's still really, really good for you. It helps preserve your muscles. You don't need to go grab really heavy dumbbells. You don't need to go out and get a huge gym set. You can just use your own physical body and still do weightlifting.
Yep. And a few people asked earlier about me breaking the treadmill. It's not because I'm overweight, guys. I didn't break it from from my physical self. I took part of it apart to try to install a software patch that's not authorized so that it would work differently and I wouldn't have to pay the subscription fee that it tries to get me to pay, and I keep wanting to bypass this. So I took it apart and I broke something. That's how I broke my treadmill.
Oops.
Yeah, oops. And the new part will be here tomorrow and I'll get it all working again. Now, if someone, Argyle asked a great question. Are there symptoms to know if you are exercising too much?
Well, some people can experience pain to their back, pain to their kidneys. I would say there's definitely, if you've ever done weightlifting or any kind of exercise, you might feel a little sore later on. You might feel a little bit sore like the next day, even. But if it's going to take you a lot longer and it's really impacting your ability to move around and function and to do what you need to do through the day, you may have pushed it a little too hard. So you definitely want to lay low and just take it easy. So this is again a really good thing to check with your doctor about to make sure, like, what do you think I should be doing? Because your doctor is probably going to give you some great suggestions as far as, oh, you can do walking, or yeah, if you've been running, you can do running. I've had clients that have gotten totally cleared for weightlifting and do really well, and their kidney function is still really good. But it's a matter of communicating your goals with your healthcare team. And again, it doesn't have to be much at all. Really, 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 you can do body weight exercises and it's still going to be fantastic and really beneficial.
Yeah. Now, we mentioned earlier briefly that there's some mental health benefits to exercising. Can you tell us more
Mhm.
about those?
So there have been studies that show directly exercise to help in reducing the issues that are anxiety and depression, which again are really, really common with people with CKD. And again, it's very understandable that these issues are prevalent, but doing a exercise routine, including some kind of exercise routine in your life that helps you in your stress management and helps you feel good can be really helpful. And in these studies, they showed that people with CKD who included a exercise regimen had tested or had showed from these surveys from before and after that they had less symptoms of depression and anxiety. So it showed that they weren't really suffering from them as much once they implemented a really good, safe, and healthy diet routine, or sorry, exercise routine.
Hey, diet goes along with exercise. One can't fix the other, so they go hand in
Exactly.
hand.
You can't outrun a bad diet, and you can't out diet a bad run, maybe. I
Yeah,
don't
I
know.
learned the hard way that if I'm looking at an Oreo cookie back in the day, I couldn't go, or I convinced myself, you know what? If I just walk, I park a little further from the store and I walk in to buy that bag of Oreos, I deserve some Oreos. That doesn't work. The
I
exercise
mean,
doesn't
if
undo it.
only it really doesn't. And it would be really nice and clean if we thought that way, but our bodies, humans are way too complex. Our bodies are
Exactly.
smarter than that.
Now, can exercise help pass kidney stones?
So this is a question I also get a lot thinking, oh, well, maybe, if I move more and I help with maybe drinking more fluids with the exercise, it'll help with kidney stones. There's no association with exercise and kidney stones. And it's just really important to consider that when you exercise, you do tend to lose more fluids from your sweat, from even your heavier breathing. So it's important to stay really, really hydrated if you do have kidney stones and you're exercising, because that hydration is one of the foundational aspects when it comes to preventing kidney stones. Very, very, very important. So if you want to exercise and you have kidney stones, there's no reason not to. Just know that the exercise itself isn't going to directly prevent kidney stones.
Yeah, and walking is my favorite exercise. I did purchase some
Hmm.
home gym thing with a bunch of bands and a bar on Amazon for like a tenth of the price of one that I saw on Facebook. That got me kind of thinking, hey, I could do that at home. But walking is my exercise. For someone, how much walking do you recommend that they do? We have someone here who says their GFR is 53. Congratulations, that's a really good GFR.
Hmm.
Um, how many minutes do you recommend someone should walk?
So in general, the goal should be, according to the CDC and Healthy Aging Bureau, they're recommending 30 minutes, 5, even 7 days a week. Most days a week, doing about 30 minutes of moderate physical activity. So we want to make sure again that it's not really intensive, but that you still do get your heart rate up and you're still breathing a little bit more. And I know I have a little trick for you guys a little bit later here. We'll talk about exactly how you can figure out that. But just to start, even though it's 30 minutes most days a week, if you're at 0 minutes every day of the
Mhm.
week, we're not looking at 30 minutes most days for you. This could be something where you start out with 10 minutes 1 day a week or 2 days a week, something like that. Something that feels really feasible. And this is something that I talk with my clients with at the end of every session. We talk about setting a goal. And in many cases, some of them do set goals for exercise because we talk about the benefits of it. And it's something that they've really wanted to implement for a long time. So we say, what is a good goal for you to complete from now until next week or the week after, the next time that I see you?
Mhm.
And we want to make sure that it's something that when we finish our session, they feel empowered and they feel like, heck yeah, I can do this.
Yeah.
I can take care of this, no problem at all. If it's a goal where you're thinking, one, it's not measurable and you're just like, I want to walk more, and it's like, well, what does that mean? Like, more days, more time, more
Mhm.
hills? Like, what exactly does that mean? You want to make sure it's something that you can truly pinpoint and you can cross off your calendar, you can cross off your to-do list. So you want to make sure that you have all those things kind of lined out. And you also don't want it to feel too intimidating. I mean, because man, if I was going 0 minutes a day, 7 days a week, and then I said, I'm going to do 30 minutes a day every day of the week, wow, that's overwhelming. And that might not even be safe for me too, because
Hmm.
for one, did my doctor say, yeah, you should do 30 minutes every single day? Or was it something like, well, let's try 3 days a week, or let's try just 5 minutes a day? So you can kind of make your own call on where you should start, because the ultimate goal is to make it consistent. And for that to happen, you want your goals to grow as you continue to improve and work on those habits.
Yeah, and one thing I love about walking is you don't have to do it all at once. You can walk
Yeah.
15 minutes in the morning. You're walking more throughout the day. As a matter of fact, my office is at one end of our house. Our house is very long. It's a single story ranch. And I have a restroom right next. I don't use this restroom. I walk all the way to the other side of the house to use that restroom throughout the day. And I'm drinking a lot of water. So I'm taking some extra trips throughout the
Yeah.
day, and all those add up. And then in the
Hmm.
evening, especially when it's cooler, I get out and I do a walk. And it makes it so easy to then get that 30 minutes in, because I didn't have to do 30 minutes at once. 15 here. I got some extra steps in the middle throughout the day, just by going to a bathroom that's further away than the one that's closest to me, and then a little
Hmm.
walk in the evening with the kids and the wife, and boom, I'm getting my steps in.
Yeah, that's one of the tips that I love sharing with people when they're getting into just starting exercise. Walking after a meal is helpful in actually a lot of different ways, one of which is helpful for digestion. So I love when you talked about walking in the evening. If you're
Yep.
walking after dinner, that's a great time to get the blood flowing and really literally help your body digest the food. Your body is meant to be moving. And again, it doesn't have to be anything crazy, just a walk to the mailbox, a walk down the street, a walk to the furthest bathroom, like anything like that can be really helpful. So, setting a goal, again, another example, setting a goal is maybe saying, I'm going to do a 5 or 10 minute walk after breakfast, or whatever meal is the most consistent for you. And you know that you could fit in a nice short walk afterwards. And you'd be surprised how your body will react and what it'll tell you and how it'll thank you for incorporating those walks.
Yeah, I let myself go where I would make excuses. It's too hot. That was my
Hmm.
big excuse. It's too hot. My knee hurts a little bit. I've got a compression sock I could put on my knee, and then I'm okay. But I've decided to stop making the excuses. I'm going to start being more active. Walking is my favorite. A few people asked about cleaning the house. Yes, all that movement counts, which is so
Hmm.
great. Playing with the dog, going outside, throwing the frisbee with the kids, gardening, mowing the yard. All of that is movement, and it counts as exercise for you. It doesn't have to be that heavy weight lifting where you're making all those noises that you hear at the gym. I
Yeah,
always wondered what
exactly.
those people were doing when they're so loud.
I feel like I've made those noises when when I'm working out and I'm just like struggling with my push-ups or something. So bear with me.
Now, for someone who has kidney disease that's listening and they say, okay, I'm going to start being more active, are
Mhm.
there steps to get started that they need to? You'd mentioned talk to your doctor, but how do they
Yeah.
get started? In addition to that,
So definitely talking with the doctor, talking with your healthcare team, make sure you figure out what is safe for you. And then also think about, I would say, kind of like what you're talking about with the gardening and with playing with the kids, playing with pets. Think of the activities, not necessarily exercise. I feel like exercise also gets a bad taste in your mouth, kind of like diet gets a bad taste in
exactly.
your mouth. So so it's like think about the things that you can do while being active that don't even feel like exercise. I have an Apple Watch and
Same
it will
here.
track it'll track my activity. And sometimes I am getting the most calories burned when I'm not even paying attention to it. I'll do a really tough workout and I'll do squats and presses and push-ups and all kinds of stuff that is just, ugh, but it doesn't really burn as much. And then I'm vacuuming and I'm cleaning the house and I'm doing laundry and I'm cleaning the kitchen and all of a
That's
sudden I'm
exercise.
exactly,
Big time.
exactly. Yeah.
You
So
don't
think
realize
about
it.
exactly. So think about the things that you're doing that you're like either well, I'm gonna have to do it anyway, or
Mhm.
that you enjoy doing. And that kind of adds up. So start with that and kind of see where you're at. And for people, because I have seen some people talk about like not having very much energy,
Mm.
you can do very simple, light stretching. You can do yoga, which doesn't require
Oh
a
yeah.
ton of running around, right? But yoga has a lot of great benefits to it. And doing something like yoga at night might even help with your sleep. It might help with your stress. So there's, again, a lot of other benefits. And I want you to think outside the box when it comes to physical activity, when it comes to doing things that just feel good for you, that really feel good, really feel nourishing. Because again, when we're setting up this consistency, when we're setting up this lifestyle change, the only way to really help guarantee that it's going to stick is that it's something that feels good for you and something that you look forward to. If it's something that you dread, I can almost promise you're not going to stick with it, because
Mhm.
who's excited to do taxes, right? Who is excited to go do
Exactly.
taxes? So we're not looking forward to it. We only do it when we have to. Just like that. Think of the things that you do look forward to and focus on those kinds of activities.
Yeah. My dad said he burns the most calories when he walks outside into a spider web.
That's a really good point. I think I do my most exercise when I have to go catch Lucy if she gets off the
Oh,
leash somehow.
yes. We forget about that when the dog gets out of the yard. That's a lot of exercise.
Oh yeah, just hunting them down.
I had one, my kids had a drone that I bought them. And the first time using it, it just started going down the street. And
Oh
I
my
had to
gosh.
take off. It got too far and it was not designed to come back if it got out of range. So I was running so fast. A police officer in the neighborhood saw it and thought something was wrong because I'm not thin. And I was booking it. I'm like, I just bought this thing. Luckily, it hit a
Oh.
tree and it came down safely.
Oh man, yeah, those droids are that is an investment right there. So I would be
Yeah.
running for it too.
Well, I bought a cheap one. The nicer ones get out of range and they come back. This one just gets
Oh,
out of range and just keeps going.
you're like, it
Now,
won't happen. It's fine.
exactly. Now, what about dialysis patients? Because we're talking a lot about kidney disease, and I don't want to
hmm
forget them.
Yeah, there are some things to pay attention to specifically if you're on dialysis. The first thing I will say is exercise is still recommended for people on dialysis. So please don't use that as an excuse not to exercise, because that's really not the case. The KDIGO guidelines do recommend that most people, unless they're medically contraindicated, they're medically told not to exercise, they should be getting moderate activity in most days of the week. So that's something to pay attention to. One of the biggest things as well is people on dialysis will have a dialysis access, whether it's in their arm, it's in their neck, or it's in their belly. There's some point of access for their dialysis that you really want to be mindful, be careful of, and keep safe. So you want to keep it clean. You want to make sure that you're not putting a ton of pressure in that area. And again, that's where it's probably going to be the best option to speak with your nephrologist about exercise to see if there's anything that they tell you not to do. Is some, let's say, weightlifting, for example, like even push ups or something like that, can put a lot of stress and pressure in that arm area where your access is. And that might not be safe for your dialysis. That's not the case across the board. Again, that's why you've got to talk with your healthcare team to see what's okay for you and your situation. Um, like a few years ago when I worked in PD, they used to say don't go in the water, so no swimming or no ocean. But now the more recent recommendations are that it's okay, but you have to do it for only a certain amount of time and you have to make sure you clean your access site, all kinds of things like that. So there are things that you can do, but talking with your healthcare team about how long you should go for, what types are okay, what types aren't okay, that's going to come directly from your dialysis team.
Cool. Now, moving on to the types of exercise, we've had a lot of people in the chat who have mentioned, and this goes with the reason we're talking about exercise. They can't stand very long. Maybe they don't have good
Hmm.
balance. Maybe there's another reason that, they're looking for exercise that are more in a sitting position.
Hmm.
So, it's
Hmm.
easier for them. What are some exercises that you might recommend for them to look at?
So right off the top of my head, we think of like the stationary bike. And there's the stationary bike where you're kind of sitting up and think about like all the spin class episode or not episodes, commercials. Um, there's also the recumbent bike where you can sit back and you can do movement there. So I do have clients that use both types of these bikes, and that helps them with getting their activity in without putting a lot of direct pressure on their feet, and they use their leg muscles. Another great option, again, would be yoga that can include a lot of sitting yoga or chair yoga, even doing stretches. I think stretching is so underrated. Not a lot of people do it, but it is just such a nice, gentle way to move your body, to move your muscles, and allow them to kind of breathe in a way. Just stretching them and opening them up and elongating them. That's a big part of yoga. Pilates would be another option that you could do that could include a lot of sitting and laying type of stances that wouldn't require you to be physically on your feet all the time.
Yeah. Now I'm looking through the blog, and actually I'm going to bring the blog up here because there's a lot of great information that I know we won't have time to go over all of it. Oops, I made it a little too short of the screen. There we go. Fill the screen up. Some of the types of exercise, and I'm going to kind of whiz through this part so we can get to
Okay.
the other sections. There's lots of good stuff in here. Um,
Hmm.
you talk about aerobic exercises. What is
Hmm.
aerobic exercise?
So this is the kind of exercise that makes you breathe harder, like you might get out of breath or something if you do a more intensive version of it. And usually you're moving faster. So there's some speed involved. It's basically something that just gets your heart pumping, and it doesn't have to include weights whatsoever. There are some aerobic activities that will include weights, but it's not really a requirement to be aerobic. It's really using your cardiovascular system, and think aerobic as in air, like we need air, so we need to breathe more when we're doing this. So these are some examples of what aerobic exercise can look like. It's not a comprehensive list, but it's definitely a lot of very popular options that people like to use. And the great thing about exercising is you can try all of these. Maybe you're kind of gravitating towards one and you really don't like the other. Like I used to run, but I haven't been a fan of it for a while, so I don't really do any running. And that's okay because there's other activities that I do enjoy. And that's what makes it healthy for me, is that they're things that I really like to do. So, gardening is one that not a lot of people think of, but gardening, if you run a garden, if you garden, you know that that is some pretty physical work. And you can definitely be breathing harder when you're moving the soil around and when you're planting things and when you're weeding and cleaning things up. Any kind of lawn work. We mow our lawn at least once a week, and that is work for sure. And it's even more work if we skip a week.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Or you have a hilly yard.
We do. We do. Our backyard is slanted, so I have to go uphill at least half the time.
There you go. So of all the exercises I do, walking is my favorite one to do, or at
Hmm.
least
Me too.
it's, now that I think about it, my favorite one. Let's see if anybody can remember what this is. There's an old video. It's from the 80s that I have all memorized, all the song's words, all the moves. I got them all done. Let's see if anybody knows it. They post it in the comments. What
Okay, I know it, but I
video?
won't give it away.
Yeah, I've mentioned it so many times in the past. Let's see if anyone remembers it. I love doing it. My wife just laughs hysterically, so she gets exercise while I'm doing it. Uh, my kids will try to do it with me. Let's see. It's been about 30 seconds almost. We'll see if anyone posts what it is. Ray's got to know. Come on, Ray in the UK. You've got to know what it is. But it falls under aerobic. It's very 80s. Picture somebody, kind of poofy hair, shorty shorts. Let's see if anyone guesses. No one's guessing yet. All right, I'm going to tell them so we don't go on too long. Richard Simmons sweating to the oldies, the original.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I love it.
I would do those too when I was younger with my mom.
Yeah, I could do it in the living room. It doesn't take much room. You're moving, you're sweating. I got to stop and take a break. Yeah, there we go. Some people got it in there. Richard Simmons, Leslie, awesome. And Leslie wrote that, and so did Kelly. They wrote that before I said it because there's a delay between their writing and my speaking. They remembered it. Ray said Jane Fonda. I can't do the Jane Fonda ones. My mom did them, and it was just too much for me. Now, the other types, we talked a bit about walking. The other types of exercise, high-intensity exercise. I get a lot of questions about this. What is high intensity, and is it something for kidney patients?
So high intensity exercises, it sometimes you might hear people abbreviate it as HIIT exercises, HIIT. This is a very intense amount of exercise, either the duration, the weight, something like that makes it really, really strong, but you do it for a short period of time. So you work really, really hard and then you stop and you take a rest. And then you work really, really hard and you stop and take a rest. And they are usually a much shorter workout because you just go really hard for a certain amount of time. And it's kind of like revving the gas on your car. Like you can only do that for so long. It's going to be a lot shorter than if you went slow and steady and you just cruised, right? So there are some studies that do show that the HIIT type exercises can be done for people with kidney issues safely about twice a week. It is very intensive. It's not something you can do back to back to back, several nights a week or something like that. You want to do it kind of peppered into an exercise routine. And this is definitely something that you want to get cleared by your doctor to see if that high intensity exercise is going to be safe and okay for you. Let's see, I got to check because I know there were some things that I found. So some of the things that they saw within the study was the improved oxygen capacity, which we know with anemia, there's an issue with getting oxygen through the system. So having good lung oxygen capacity can be really helpful. The challenge, I would say, when it comes to somebody with CKD, adding HIIT to their workout would be that max heart rate, because usually they're striving for like an 80 to 90% of their max heart rate, which to figure out your max heart rate, you take 220 and you subtract your age. And then that number is your max heart rate. And then you would multiply that by 0.8, and that would give you basically 80% of your max heart rate. So if you do some kind of heart monitor, or if you have like a watch that tracks your heart rate, things like that, you would be aiming for about that 80% of your max heart rate, not the 100%, not the full amount. So for example, a 20-year-old, easy math, 220 minus 20 is 200. And then 80% of that is 160. So that would be about the heart rate that somebody would be aiming for, they would be striving for, and that's beats per minute, they would be striving for with high intensity exercise. So it will increase your heart rate, but if you have cardiovascular issues or if you have congestive heart failure, something like that, you want to be really careful with it. It's something, if you've done it, you might be okay to continue doing it. And I found that to be more the case for people. What can happen is if people do these high intensity exercises and then they take supplements, like we talked about the creatine, things like that. They take the supplements that a lot of gyms, a lot of exercise fanatics, that they talk about how it's so important to take these supplements, and then the supplements are not advisable for people with kidney issues. So that's kind of the bigger issue there. So in many cases, doing high intensity exercise 1 or 2 times a week might be beneficial, but the bottom line is you've got to check with your own healthcare team to see if it would be beneficial for you or if it would be safe for you.
Yeah, and that's a lot. In your blog, you did an example of someone older than me, a 50-year-old, that much older than me, And looking at that target heart rate, oh my goodness, I could not imagine exercising at that heart rate, because I do watch mine
Hmm.
on my watch. And I'll run. I'll get on the treadmill and I'll go up to like 8 miles an hour and do a short jog for a little bit.
Hmm.
But mine doesn't get up that high. That's a lot. That would be a lot for me.
Yeah, and it really is a cardiovascular exercise. You think about the heart as a muscle, and you're having the heart work pretty hard in those situations to be beating that much. There's benefits to that in improving your heart rate, improving your resting heart rate. You're kind of training your body, you're training your heart to know when you really work hard, and then when you don't work hard, it's not having to pump as much. But again, it's not for everybody. So it's not something that is necessarily mandatory. And again, exercise alone isn't going to be, um, it's not going to be like the cure for the kidney issues. It's going to be part of the solution in protecting kidney function or taking care of other things that protect kidney function, like your blood pressure, your blood
Mhm.
sugars, all that stuff we talked about.
And for people who are getting more experienced with life, I love saying that instead of older. For those
There
that
you
are
go.
getting more experienced, balance exercises are helpful to incorporate, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. I think balance exercises are another one that is very underrated, but very, very important. I remember we were talking about exercise last year around the same
Mhm.
time, and we were talking about it around the week of falls prevention awareness, I believe. And it's just something that is very important as we do get older to be aware of and to be safe about because when I worked in the hospital and even in dialysis, but it was mostly when I worked in the hospital, the number of times that I would see a consult for somebody who was older, had a higher risk of malnutrition, and their reason for their admission was a fall. Because a
Mhm.
fall can just lead to fractures and breaks
Yep.
and complications that aren't even realized. So, doing balance exercises throughout the course of our lifetime is really, really helpful. And there's there's an article that I have linked in the blog that does go to some helpful videos and exercise ideas for balance. So I think that could be really, really helpful for people to check out.
Yeah, and in the blog there is a great graphic. Did Shelby do this graphic? I know
I
she does
did.
a lot of. Oh, you did awesome.
I did. Yeah, I've been getting so much more into creating more graphics for PPK. So yeah, I did this one.
Yeah, I love all the colors, and it's easy to take a look at this and see. Someone had just asked, is running good? Yes, running. If you're a person who's accustomed to running, that's great exercise.
Hmm.
For me, running's not a good thing. I'm a walker, maybe occasionally a jogger if I'm
Yeah,
indoors on a
exactly.
treadmill. But
And
whatever
that
exercise
works.
I get, exactly, it works. We've got swimming. I love swimming. My kids right now
Hmm.
are at Great Wolf Lodge swimming. They've been swimming all day. We got the day
Oh.
pass, so they've been coming and going with the wife. I don't have my swim body. I got my winter body, so I'm not with them today till I can drop a few pounds. Then I'll start going there again. But yeah, lots of great ones in here. You got your stretching, your dancing. Now, we talked a little bit about how long we should exercise,
Hmm.
and it was about 30 minutes a day, 5 to 7 days a week, which is great. It can be
Hmm.
done in little chunks. You don't have to do it all at once. When I was losing weight and making the best gains in my health, I was doing that 30 minutes a day, seven
Hmm.
days a week. So I'm going to get back to that. My kidney health has stayed stable, but my scale just it complains at me. It goes, "Get off" when I get on it. One at a time. Now, there's a thing called the talk test to know if I'm pushing
Hmm.
myself enough with exercise. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, this is something that anybody can do at any point in time, and it basically, in general, will give you an idea of the amount of activity or the strenuous activity that you're doing. So basically, if, let's say you're walking, for example, and if you are walking with a friend or if you're having a conversation on the phone, and if you're talking in full sentences, kind of like we are, that is considered moderate activity. You might have to like take a break between a few sentences. You might have to pause a little bit here and there, but you can still carry a couple sentences. If you can sing while you're walking, so if you're playing some great music and you're having a great
Hmm.
time and you're just going along with the tunes, you might be going a little too light because the oxygen that should be going to your muscles to get you moving is being used with your singing. And that's telling you, oh, I've got a lot of oxygen, but it's not being used right now. And then for heavy exercise or for that more intensive activity, if you can't put together a sentence and you're talking kind of like this, where you're catching your breath a lot and you're getting just a few words out at a time, that means that your body is using the oxygen to get to your muscles and to take care of your exercise there. So that would be a more heavier, intense exercise. So if you like doing things like maybe kind of like the HIIT, or if you like to punch it up a little bit and do just a little bit harder, like you're talking about walking and jogging,
Hmm.
then you can do the talk test to see what your walking is at. Because if your walking is already in that kind of heavy or intense where you can't put a sentence together, then maybe jogging, maybe it's not quite ready. Maybe it's not the best thing for you. I mean, it could be. You're going to be the one to know. Your healthcare team is going to help you out with that as well. But this talk test can give you a really pretty clear cut right away answer as to where your oxygen is going.
Yeah, and I use music to help me get into those different zones. I'll start out
Hmm.
with some Dolly Parton. I'm warming up. Then I'll switch to a mixed version of all my favorite country songs. That's what I'm out there. I'm just going. I'm singing. I got my
Yeah.
headphones on. I know that people are looking at me like, "What the heck is he singing?" Because I can't sing, guys, but I make up for it in volume. And of course, I'm trying to catch my breath, so it's really bad. But I get that to get me going in, and I kind of pace
Yeah.
myself based on the music. So I find that very, very helpful.
Yeah, yeah. Music is a really fun way to get into the zone of whatever you're doing, and it just kind of pumps you up. Or, yoga, for example, if you're trying to do like a nice bedtime, like kind of calming yoga, you could play some nice calm music, and it just helps set the mood.
Yep. Now, is there a time that I should not exercise? Because we talked earlier about when to exercise, but are there times when I probably shouldn't be exercising?
Well, in general, it's really just going to be when your doctor says don't exercise. If your doctor has given you the red light and saying something like you shouldn't be working out because maybe you just had a procedure done, like maybe you just had your dialysis access placed, or maybe you just came out of a different type of procedure, even if it was routine or something, they might tell you to kind of lay low for a little while. If there's any physical risk, again, if some people might not feel safe on their feet, they might not feel safe being up for a while or doing some kind of exercise, don't worry about pushing it. Just look at what you really feel comfortable doing. And again, having the doctor give you that go ahead to start the routine. There's not going to be a whole lot of reasons not to exercise. There's a lot of excuses that we can give ourselves to not exercise. But that's
I've
different
got
than a
all of them.
legitimate exactly. But it's different than a legitimate reason to not exercise.
Yeah. Now, speaking of a reason to not exercise, I'm exercising. When should I stop? What are some signs that, I'm going a little far or something's not right and I need to stop?
Yeah, actually, I just last week I was doing this pretty intensive lifting workout and I started feeling nauseous. And that was right away a sign for me like, okay, I'm pushing it too far. I'm doing too much. I've got to take a break. My body is physically telling me, like, if you don't slow down, I'm going to make you slow down.
Yeah.
So listen to your body. And if you can't catch your breath or you're having a really hard time breathing, if you feel nauseous, if you feel lightheaded or dizzy, if you get cramping, any of these things, they can be a physical sign from your body to just say, hey, you're pushing it too hard. You've got to take some time. And that could be taking a break from the exercise or from the workout, or it could be just stopping it early entirely. And that's not a problem. It's just something to gauge and realize that maybe you just pushed it too hard. So it's really, really important to be safe and listen to your body. Exercise is something that is supposed to help us feel good and is supposed to help us feel better down the road, or as we keep consistency. Exercise is not a form of punishment to our body. It's not a form of any type of abuse to our body, that it's something that we shouldn't feel good doing. We should feel challenged, but not to the point where we don't feel good. So if you have any kind of feeling that you just something doesn't feel right, then stop, and it's okay, and it's better safe than sorry.
Yeah, and some people are saying they can't imagine me singing Dolly Parton. Oh, I'm country at heart, everybody. And my daughter is so good at singing Dolly because I sing along to it whenever it's on the radio or on my playlist. Now, you have a client success story you wanted to share about where they
Yeah.
used exercise as part of their
Yeah.
their their program.
Yeah, I actually have quite a few of them. But when I was preparing to talk about exercise, I mean, um, she just came to mind right away, and it was really fantastic. So when we first start working together, we focus a lot on nutrition. And once that all kind of gets locked in, that's when we start thinking, okay, what other areas in their lifestyle should we be focusing on to help support good kidney function? And she brought up that she's really wanted to get back into exercising, but it's been a challenge for her. She's had the struggle of making it a routine, of making it a habit. And her sleep schedule was also really, really funky. She wouldn't go to bed until like 2 in the morning, and then she'd
Oh,
have to get up at like 8:45, and she had to be at work at 9 o'clock. And it was just very, very difficult for her to figure out the best way for her to exercise. So we first started setting her time for her sleep back. So we talked about going to bed earlier. We talked about putting the screens down. We talked about getting the lights dim and really setting up a nice evening time routine so that her body knew that it was time to go to sleep. And as we were pushing up her bedtime, we were also pushing back her wake up time. And it wasn't something like she knew working out in the morning was going to be best for her, but we couldn't go from an 8:45 a.m. wake up time to a 6 a.m. wake up time. So each week she would be setting her alarm clock back by like 15 minutes, and we'd be working on just reshifting her sleep schedule so that she'd get more time in the morning. And once she had enough time in the morning where she felt like she could get a little bit of a workout in, that's when we started implementing a workout routine for her. And she loved doing these YouTube classes and all these free classes. And now, especially after COVID, there are tons of free exercise videos and exercise routines online that you can find. One of my favorite ones is the Nike training app, and that is something I have on my phone. And they have tons of workouts that you can do entirely for free that are run by trainers. But that's a really good one. And she just loved doing those videos, and she also loved doing yoga. So we started implementing this routine for her to the point where she, at the end of it, was getting up at 7 a.m. and getting a 30-minute workout in and having a healthy breakfast and not feeling rushed into her day, not feeling rushed into work. So it was really this waterfall effect or this domino effect that just the rest of her day kind of helped fell in place. It felt better for her because she created this really, really good morning routine that included an exercise routine that she enjoyed. And she didn't have to do it every day. She planned on the days where she knew that she wanted to fit it in or it would be best for her schedule. And it was just really, really good watching her make these changes and watching her enjoy these changes. Again, this was something that she wanted to do. We just supported her through that.
mhm.
Uh, it was absolutely just fantastic to see her make those changes. So, um, the point of the story is really to say that you can definitely do this, but don't think you're going to go from 0 to 60. You've got
Yep.
to make small steps. You got to make small changes. And again, just a 5-minute walk or a 5-minute yoga routine, a couple days a week, something like that to get you into the habit is really, really beneficial because you can always add more time. You can always start shifting things, but just getting into that mentality of doing some exercise is probably the hardest hurdle to jump first.
Yep. Awesome. Well, that brings us up to the top of the hour. A few people did comment that they noticed my YouTube, I got to lean the right way, plaque back there.
Oh,
I actually did receive one, finally.
how
It's
cool.
I just opened it out of the box. It might be surprising for people to know that the background behind me is all a green screen. I just said that's all virtual. And I was in
But you
Photoshop.
added it in.
I took a picture and I put it in
Oh,
there. I was
that's
like, I'm
so
going to put it on the
cool.
shelf virtually.
That's so cool. I
There
don't
was
have
a
a green screen. I have a green plant.
Yeah, there was a picture. I did not realize it. This is a stock image. There was a picture of a chicken back there, and I was interviewing and had this virtual background up, and someone asked me, "Can you tell me about that picture of the chicken behind you? Why do you have a picture of a chicken?" I had never noticed it. I
Oh
thought, you
my
know what?
gosh.
I'm gonna go into Photoshop and replace it with my
That's so cool. That is
with
so
my
cool.
YouTube black. It took forever to
Yeah.
get it. Holy cow. Woo! But so
Yeah.
excited. All
That's
right.
awesome
So
though.
everyone can go to plantpoweredkidneys.com. The blog is right there. There's even more information than what we had time to cover today, and some great graphics to help you with exercising. Um, and you'll be on Instagram in just under 30 minutes. So I don't want to hold you too long. So I want to thank
Yeah, I will
everyone.
grab some dinner.
Yeah, thank everyone for being here today. This is a fantastic show, and we'll be back next week on Monday with Dr. Rosansky, and then Tuesday with Jen. All right, everybody. Goodbye. Have a great evening. All right, now, if people don't believe I sing to Dolly, well, I tumble out of bed and stumble to the kitchen, pour myself a cup of ambition, yawn and stretch and try to come to life. Jump in the shower and the blood starts pumping, out on the streets, the traffic's